Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy Patience, and I decided to come at you guys with a little new one. So in this one, I wanted to talk a little bit more about finance, and I guess you could say business transactions, influx, how money gets in and about currency, trade, all of that stuff, guys. So I wanted to cover that stuff for you guys and with you guys today. Um, So, so at the moment, how things seem in Star Citizen is very fluid, and it's very liquid, I guess you could say. And what I mean by that is, it seems very it's not tangible. It seems like it's very hard to catch a stick, as it were. And what I mean is when you see the pricing of goods, they don't seem to have any real economic value as it would seem. Like, for instance, there's no consideration to the people of Grimhex, there's no consideration to the people of Microtech, there's no consideration to the people of Art Corp, and I would say there's no consideration to the people of Crusader, who's just right next door to Grimhex. Now, obviously, Grimhex is an area where there's a lot of poverty. There's not much jobs going in Grimhex. You can tell just by the look of Grimhex. It seems to attract a lot of criminals, and criminals are more likely to do criminalistic, or they're likely to be more criminal when taking into consideration a career, as to trying to get into a professional kind of career, so as to make a real income for themselves. So Grimhex would be struggling, which means prices at Grimhex are likely to be a little bit more reasonable. What does this mean? This also means that you're likely to have a Grimhex currency. This would make currency for the people that live at Grimhex a lot more affordable for their lifestyle. So buying things at Grimhex would be, in ways, I guess you would say, very cheap. For the people at Grimhex, it would be a fair wage for a fair return. Because that's all they know. It would be harder for someone living at Grimhex to travel to Microtech, because the currency of Grimhex in conversion to, let's say, Microtech exchange rates, or currency rate, would be extremely different. Because Microtech is obviously a business run planet, I guess you could say, and so they're likely to have a demand rate upon their currency. Crusader likely being the same, etc., etc., etc. So because of this, you would more than likely find Grimhex with their own currency. You would find Crusader would likely have their own currency, and you would find Art Corp and Microtech alike will probably have their own currency. You will probably even find their moons would have their own currency as well. Earth is a very tiny world, and upon this planet, damn near every single culture has their own currency. That's just to state just how likely we are to have so many currencies within the Stanton system alone, guys. Having lots of currency is a good thing, because it helps to price objects, items, and it helps to keep districts, zones within a certain fluctuation zone. It controls, I guess you could say, control and demand, or I can't remember the term, but it's demand, and import and export. This is how a lot of companies and how a lot of countries make money. At the moment, we have a lot of players running around, and I will bet you every single darn player that plays Star Citizen at the present current moment in time is hella rich. And the reason being is because they're self-employed. Everyone is given the opportunity to be self-employed and to get rich. There is nothing really wrong with that, but there is the thing that makes it bad is that it does break systems. And what we're seeing is inflation, guys. We're seeing crazy deflation, we're seeing crazy inflation, and no means or ways of controlling that. The only way to control inflation and deflation is to get an understanding of your currency system, pricing goods. Now, at the moment, it seems like CIG are running around trying to price goods in a fair manner and standard. If this thing over here it costs 5,000 AUEC, then this thing over here has to cost 6,500 AUEC. Everything's like expensive, and I feel like that's the catch in the game, that because everything is expensive, it's hard to price the things that are expensive in a way to where they're not extremely expensive, because then you begin to see how kind of silly everything kind of looks. So everything is kind of like priced, if not too high, then they're priced relatively too low. And for this, you will have players running around the system. They have ample things. They have more than what they need because they're retardedly rich. And then what you do at the end is you just come in and you just wipe the game. So what you're trying to do now is what the Fed would do, which is trying to bump prices up on goods. There's no tax in the game, at least not yet. So you've gone the quite the native route, the obvious route, which is bumping the prices up, which is a way of trying to handle things, but it's not, because immediately you kind of show that you're not thinking about the people in poverty, which are people that also need to survive, which aka Grimhex would be one of those places. Grimhex is not a place where absolutely everyone's a criminal, but you're not taking that bit into consideration, which is a flaw. So currency is something that most certainly needs to be taken into consideration. The reason being is because if you do take currency into consideration, it makes it easier to price goods. You would find that a Gemini gun in Grimhex, should it be sold at Grimhex, I doubt it ever would be, at least not in the current state that it's in, but let's just say it was sold at Grimhex, it would be very cheap for someone that was living maybe in Microtech or Arc or even Crusader. You could go traveling to Grimhex and buy maybe 12 of those guns for very, very, very cheap. And obviously the shop owner would have a very good day with that. How would he get his hands onto those weapons? Good, he knows. But if he ever did, then, and he sold them and started making the income, then you would see an uppeak in Grimhex's, I guess you could say, infrastructure. Their infrastructure would begin to change. Infrastructure means people will start building jobs, creating jobs, new buildings for new jobs, people getting into jobs, which means this would actually be good for Grimhex. And it all starts with getting your hands on, products that are practically in demand, because when someone at one of those I guess you could say main sequence parent celestial bodies, which would be Crusader, ArcCorp or Microtech, someone from there begins to grow the addiction to go into Grimhex to buying things cheap. Kind of got to think of it like, where would you rather buy it? Would you rather go to a retail store? Would you rather shop online and find a bargain price? You're likely to go online and find a bargain price. What does that mean for retailers? So once you begin to kind of use that kind of level of mindset, it becomes quite easier for you guys to start pricing goods in game, because you begin to say, right, this is this sector and this is what we expect from and of this sector for the next 10 years. And this is what we expect from this sector for roughly the same, but for this sector, we don't expect it to be this good for the next 10 years, maybe for the next 5 years, 3 years. But so for that, we'll kind of make prices meet a rate that's not at its premium state. And also another thing that would be good, especially for places like Grimhex, would be say I want to buy some sort of a material, but I don't have the money to do so, at least not yet. Maybe I will never have the money to do so, at least not in one full whack. So I'll start putting down money on it. So I do get the item. Maybe I don't get the item, but likelihood you get the item. And over time, you pay down on the item. This way, you're able to live within your means while still having whatever it is that you have. Likelihood it's helping you pay for, his service, etc., etc., etc. So my point there would be, say you want to go and you want to buy a ship. If you have the right kind of income and you can prove that you're getting that kind of income, then let's say, for instance, you're making let's say you're making 25,000, let's say you're making 15,000, 10,000 a month, and you want to buy a ship. Let's say you're making 25,000 a month, and you want to buy a ship that costs 1 million. Then, if you work your maths, you'll know that within a short period of time, you'll be able to buy that ship. That'll take you, a good couple of months, maybe into a couple of years, and you'll be able to buy that ship. Which is affordable prices. It's making things affordable for your average person. Another thing would be, most importantly, having trade institutes, because this stuff also helps with currencies. Like, for instance, if you've got like over here, you've got a company, and for instance, we've got all sorts of commodities in the game right now, and none of the commodities are priced in anything. They're just a commodity, so you can just go and buy it free willy-nilly, which is usually neat. But let's just say that let's say Hadanite was priced in Crusader money, and Hadanite started going, let's just say, so another thing that you might want to check would be currency exchanging against each other. This is another way of allowing currencies to become stronger as they're paired off with each other. And another way of kind of controlling currencies to ensure that they don't go completely bust, as it were. So you're trying, you've got like many kind of mechanisms in play to ensure that a currency is never really deprived of its former self or its former state, but that at some stage within its future, if not already, that it will have a potential means of growing and getting stronger. Food is another thing. Once we're able to actually start taking the economy into into consideration, aka a burger is not just a burger that spawned on a shelf, but it's a burger that was actually transported to this place, and a burger that's actually transported to that place, and a burger that's actually transported to that place. This lets you know how a system's running. This lets you know how money is moving. So all this stuff is very important. So this was some of the stuff that I wanted to bring out. I actually want to go a bit deeper with it. I'm actually waiting on something at the moment, so I don't have much time to spend on this, if you understand what I'm trying to say to you. But anyway, guys, if you did like what you're hearing and you're seeing, please leave your thumbs, your likes, and your comments down below. And if you do have any more questions, guys,